All right, guys, welcome back. Episode 44. We sit down with Stephanie White, talk about everything that has to do with health and wellness in the American Fire Service, medical marijuana, conspiracy theories. Everything's in this. It's going to be a great episode. Don't forget, these episodes are brought to you by Old Man Copper, Smoke Eater, Mustache Wax. He's the man. Has you think about jobs all day long. Smells just like a freaking house fire. It's awesome. Engine House Design, check those guys out. Plus the Williams Key. Everyone, discount code COPPER, COPPER, gives you 10 to 20% off. Check them out. Great dudes, all fireman-owned companies. Stay tuned. It's a good episode. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I have the privilege to sit down with Stephanie White. She is a 23-year veteran of the American Fire Service. She started her journey in the volunteers and then recently retired after a sleepless career. We all know how that feels. But now she is the editor-in-chief, she'll correct me, Firefighter Nations. Over the career, she's been actively involved in firefighter health and wellness, as enjoying watchers, new authors, podcasts, attacking the culture and issues in the American Fire Service. So, welcome, everybody. But more importantly, Stephanie White, thank you. This is like a year in the making, I feel like.
It's been a minute.
Thank you for coming on the show. Is there anything you'd like to add to your bio? Is there anything I fucked up?
No,
anything along those lines?
You didn't throw in the word safety like you originally had, so thanks for removing that. that did not belong in there.
Absolutely. All right. So, there's a bunch of stuff I really want to talk about. So, you are known in the circuit. The guys know. So, you've been like pretty much the health and wellness guru in the American Fire Service for a long time. We had talked offline for a little bit. I have a couple conspiracy theories. So, I love it. So, Steve Orsini, 20 years in the American Fire Service, East Coast fireman for 11 years, West Coast now for almost 10. With all that said, there's a lot of things that are disturbing me when we talk about health and wellness. First off, East Coast, unfortunately, I love the East Coast. I love
be careful how you continue from here. Just
Okay,
saying,
all
I'm
right.
still on the East Coast.
Hear me out. Like I love the East Coast. I love the traditions. I love the old school, but you're right. There is a but. There is always a constant joke of, hey, the best shape of my life was the day I graduated the fire academy, which my personal opinion is bullshit. The guys are the guys. The girls are the girls. It's a great brother and sisterhood. The traditions are steeped. We went through an issue, right? I left the East Coast right around 2015, we went through a transition right after the war where we had a bunch of guys that were coming out of the military that were not doing good. And we had deaths associated with that. Outside of that, though, we were still running before I left one set of turnout gear. It sat right next to my bunk. And literally Marley Park, the guys that know where I'm talking about, we'd wake up, we'd throw our bunkers on, slide down the pole, we're on the wagon, and we're going. That wasn't that long ago. So I transitioned out the West Coast. Way different story. 2 sets of gear. They have red, yellow, and green zones. There's extractors, which I'd never heard of. But what's really crazy is we have buried, unfortunately, a ton of our brothers very recently from occupational cancer. We are lucky enough that we have a good amount of cancers that, as us, if you work in the state of Arizona, if you come down with X cancer and it's occupational, it's automatically covered. Thank fucking God. But what I'm really upset about is a lot of our brothers are losing their lives extremely young. And now, just in the area that I work in, my department, we buried 3 individuals from retirement age all the way down to fucking 28 years old, which fucking sucks. You know, barely 2 years on the job. And it's not fair. So it's not fair to his family. It's not fair to us. It's not fair to the brothers and sisters. And again, I'm trying to figure out the why. So since I have one of the health and safety gurus,
Don't use safety.
And that, I'm
I'm
sorry.
not known
Okay.
for
Health
safety.
and wellness. Health and wellness. Sorry. I already talked.
You're gonna get my shift, my last
Okay.
shift, sending you some angry letters for using
All right.
safety.
So my health and wellness guru for the time, right? I have a couple conspiracy theories. So these are just my personal opinions. They
I'm
have
all in. Let's
literally,
hear it.
okay, zero scientific backing. The only thing I can figure out that is a dramatic difference from where I came from to where I'm at currently is, I'll just say, skills courses. So I work in the state of Arizona in the Valley, and I guarantee you well, not guarantee you. So shift change is typically between 7 and 8 o'clock, depending on what department you work for. But I guarantee you about 8:30, 9 a.m. every fucking morning, pretty much every Valley department crews, they're doing a skills course because they care. They they prioritize their fitness, and our departments prioritize our fitness and our health and well-being, which is fucking awesome. But with that said, I'm going, what? Then why the fuck are we dying? I feel like earlier and more often than we were back east. And the only difference, and this is what I'm alluding to right now, is the skills courses. So PFAS, turnout gear, yes, everyone across the country knows about that. That could be part of it. The other question I have, and again, these are just conversations, is what about the air? Like we always say, hey, air's free, but how often is that checked? How do they check it? Is that the same for my department as it is for the department you used to work for compared to the department right next to me? I probably guarantee the answer is no. So I'm just curious on it. I know that's a lot of shit that kind of just to throw down right now, but again, Stephanie White's personal opinion. What do you think about that? Am I a complete asshole right now? Am I way off? What do you think right now?
I think all the bourbon that we drink and enjoy on the East Coast, because we have real stomachs and guts, kills all the cancer. And that's the difference. I know there's a lot of light beer on the West Coast. And by the way, you guys stay in a different shape because you don't have this thing called winter, where we have to stay warm so we don't die. Just like to put that out there. Dude, I've never freaking thought of that before. I've never stopped to consider what could be growing in there. I mean, as long as it hasn't smelled, I've never had to think about it. So that's a really good one. I had a conversation recently with another West Coaster, Paul Shoemaker, and he and I were doing a podcast talking about cancer last month, and we went off on a diatribe and talking about all the different things that cause cancer. But I think one of the biggest things that causes cancer that we never talk about is dude, the toxicity, just being emotionally run down by all the am I allowed to cuss? I mean, I don't know if you cuss on the
I,
show.
did you hear me cuss like 6 times already? Fucking bitch,
Oh,
get out of here. Talk.
all the bullshit that you deal with in a department. So I don't know. Are you guys more dramatic on the West Coast? Do you guys have more toxic departments? I don't know. I think that's an element of cancer we don't talk about, but now I'm gonna have to go take some cotton swabs to the compressor at the academy.
Yeah,
I'm
I
curious now.
again like I said, I have no idea, and I
I
challenge
will I
guys.
will get you some answers, my friend.
Well, you know what? Even fucking better. Now I'm talking about winning, and but I challenge guys listening. Like, what is the departments you guys work for? What is your policy? Because I don't even know my department's policy. I'm fucking disgusted with how things are tested. So I'll give you an example of what I've been told that some people do. So what they'll do is when there's an issue with air, that means like some sort of odor, whatever, throw it out there. What they're going to do is they're going to drain that system. They're going to replace all the filters on the cascade. They're going to fill it back up. They're going to drain it. And then they're going to take a sample. And again, my personal opinion, that's fucking bullshit. So I
Whatever
want
was
a
in there is
sample.
diluted and gone now.
Thank you. If there is an odor coming out of your bottle, demand a sample out of your fucking bottle. And again, we're trying to look out for you guys right now, myself included. Stephanie, thank God she's retired. I'm so super fucking jealous, but she doesn't have to worry about it anymore. But seriously, you should know, because I remember from when I started in the fire service, they were like, bro, go through bottles, air is free. And it does, it makes sense. But I'll tell you what, it has me second guessing doing these skills courses on air anymore. We've already transitioned to turnout gear that has no PFOS for workouts. It's blue. Like, it's not structural turnout gear. It's a guy in our area and he's being nice and letting us use his stuff right now. And I'll tell you what, it sucks. It's fucking heavy. It feels like pillows. It actually makes your turnout gear feel so much better, but it's the best stuff to train in because you train in the worst suck ever. When you put your regular gear on, you're like, it's not so bad. And
You don't think you don't think it has anything to do with the fact that you guys are consistently trying to burn down your half of the country and so the air quality is bad? I mean,
yeah,
that
you know what?
might have something to do with it.
Again, I wear a fucking helmet for a living. Stephanie is a freaking editor in chief. She's about
But
20
that
levels
just
above me.
that just means I know how to read without using my finger. That's all that means. That's it.
Oh, I do still use my finger, and thank God I have all 10, so we're good. And I'm a truckie, so that's amazing. All right,
That
so
explains the conspiracy theory.
yes, exactly. And, I won't even get into flat Earth and everything else because the guys they give a good argument sometimes. I'm not gonna get into it. I just one day I just want to know if grade school lied to me. I want to know if we actually went on the moon, and I want to know if we were fucking round. I do honestly
Listen,
believe we did both, but I don't know.
don't ever drink bourbon around me because I'm born and raised in the DC area, so I'm a political conspiracy theorist. So
Ooh, yeah, even better. All right,
JFK may
so
have been killed because of the flat Earth, for all we know.
oh, maybe I don't know. We'll have to talk about that offline for sure. Health and wellness in the American Fire Service is so drastic depending on the departments. And it does. It sucks if you're in a department right now that doesn't prioritize your yearly physical. And trust me, I came from the yearly physical because I was on a hazmat team. Like, hey, bro, we're gonna do one step up. We're gonna check your heavy metals, which is bullshit, right? It should be a full talk screen. It should be a freaking bike test, like flexibility, functional movements, everything across the sun. And then if you don't meet the standards, they should provide services for you to get back on the truck. Again, personal opinion in mind. With all that, though, Stephanie, what do you think the issue is right now when we start talking about the drastic difference? I know the area that you came from, and I feel like I could be way wrong, but I feel like they were kind of similar to where I am right now when they maybe prioritizing physical fitness. I know my area was not. And again, no shade on that department. I love the brothers and sisters through and through, but it's just part of the culture. It's just, or I should say, it's not part of the culture. What do you feel that the main issue is? Why is there such a dramatic difference between coast? Because I really feel like that's how it is. West Coast is super weird when it comes down to prioritizing, like they put it above even sometimes fire tactics, where the East Coast, I kind of feel like is more old school. And they're like, hey, I'd rather you be a 300-pound badass fireman than a 185-pound ripped dude that's pretty or adequate. I don't know. So what's your personal opinion on that, Steph?
I think we have better personalities and we sit around and we joke more on the East Coast, and that's why we're not out there PTing all the time. I stand by that theory. No,
Bullshit.
listen, it's 30 degrees out today. I'm not gonna go outside and run and hang out in the sunshine all day long. I'm gonna stay in and
I'm in a
work out.
t-shirt right now.
Yeah, it's not gonna be as good of a workout as if I'm spending the day on my feet hanging out outside. And I think the West Coast culture, period, has always been in better shape because you guys have vanity and you have to be in bikinis and right? It's just I can't tell you other than that little conspiracy theory why it is that, but you're not wrong. We really value the heavy strongman on the East Coast. And you will see some dudes and you're like, that motherfucker is gonna get me killed, and they will get through a door faster than anyone else, and their hustle will surprise you. It will very much surprise you how fast they can move. So it's got to come down to the winter thing. I mean, we're inside, we're huddled, we're trying to stay warm, and we're picking on each other.
Hey, you know what? And that might be it. And I like that theory because it's 100% true. I still talk to a bunch of my buddies on the East Coast, and I've made even more friends all across the East Coast, kind of doing the circuit and traveling and everything else. And I just had or this will be after the episode airs, but you guys have now hopefully listened to the Station Nightclub fire. So we had two guys from Rhode
Mm.
Island, infancy on the job, right? 23 years later, but as I mean, the lighthearted side of that is we're joking at the end after we stop recording, and I'm like, and this is no joke. So we're talking right now, we're February 12th. So wintertime. I am literally sweating my ass off. It's 80 degrees right now. And those motherfuckers are cursing me out because they opened their window and the snow's up on the middle side of their window. I
There's
don't
snow
miss
out my
that.
window.
Yeah. And I am in
No,
t-shirt and shorts sweating.
but you know what? I am fortunate that I do get to travel and meet different people in what I do now. And West Coasters, you are a very wonderful kind of people, but they will not bust your balls within the first 2 minutes. So I went to FDNY's The Rock for something a couple months ago. And I walked in on purpose with a Boston cap on, and within 30
What?
seconds, yeah, yeah, the ball busting began. But if I had done that in California, anywhere on the West Coast, there would have been a little bit more of a timid. It's just not the natural reaction that it is on the East Coast. We're gonna break you balls the second we find something to attack.
Oh yeah, and you show up there with the easiest bait ever, a lid that has a big old red bee in New
I
York
def-
City.
I defended it though. We're good. We're fine.
Oh my God, I don't even know how, but that'll be like a whole nother conversation there. Before we kind of get into what I really want to talk about with health and safety, I can't ignore your bio. So you retired, 23 years on the job. I am so jealous. I joke with the guys all the time. So I joined the military right out of high school because I'm an asshole. Well, I wasn't. I'm still an asshole, but I was a bigger asshole. And I knew I was going to waste my parents' money at college. So if I stayed in the military, I could have retired at 38. I'm 44 now. If I stayed with my original department, I could have retired in January. So again, super jealous, but how or why, or maybe both. So again, in your bio, you're editor in chief, right? Fire Nations magazine publications. Please excuse my ignorance and correct me, but why and how did you get into the position that you are right now? And thank you for still being involved in the American Fire Service.
That was quite the convoluted journey. So I was coming up on 20 years, and I knew at 20 years I had to move to a slower house because I had been incredibly lucky. I had always stayed at our busiest houses, but my body was beginning to feel it. I think when I had the conversation with myself, I was on my third lower spine injury. I hadn't even started injuring my upper neck yet. And I knew 20 years, you're going to go somewhere slower. And I thought, well, if I do that, I'm going to absolutely lose my mind. So in the midst of all of that and doing some union work and realizing, your days in the fire service might be coming to an end, I got a sense of panic of I have all these things that I want to change before I go, and they're not changing. So how the F do I go change them? So I began, actually, it started with a podcast. I began as a podcaster for fire engineering. And I took one of the podcasts I did with the Pittsburgh guys on medical marijuana because they had gotten it written into their MOU. And I took that podcast and I wrote an article for fire engineering on it. And that's really where the journey started is I said, hey, write some more. This one did well. And kept writing. And Firefighter Nation, when I joined the fire service, when I was a volunteer, so I volunteered for 3 years first before going career. It was this kind of like MySpace meets a chat room weird place. And I mean that with no disrespect. It was just an odd little place. And the managing editor of Fire Engineering said, "Hey, we want to talk to you about this thing called Firefighter Nation." I was like, "Jesus Louise, what did I write? What did I say? I'm getting absolutely demoted." And David Rhodes, who took over after Bobby Halton passed, said, "Hey, no, we want to completely push this in the direction of culture. Will you take it on?" So I said, "Yeah." So that's really how it started. And as year 20 started to draw to an end, and David said, "All right, you're going to retire and come on full time now, right?" And I said, "Well, what if I stayed on the job and went to a slower house and did it?" And then the next month it was, "Well, what if I dropped down to completely part-time hours, which we call flex schedule, and did it?" And then finally, as the time drew closer, I said, Okay, I do truly have to retire, don't I?" So retired, and now here I am, finding new authors and new podcasters and getting to hear new stories.
Well, great. Well, again, thank you for coming on our podcast. So it, I love what you already segued to what I really want to talk about. So you said your basically opening was talking about medical marijuana in the American Fire Service. So I have a couple issues with that. So again, guys know I'm on the West Coast. I'm in the state of Arizona. The department I work for, we were the first ones with the MOU that had medical and rec for marijuana, which is amazing. So I
That's
will tell you what,
impressive.
yeah, it is. And our union has given our verbiage to multiple departments. So they were successful doing the same thing that we're doing, which is great. And I'll tell you what, I am an advocate. I am a medical marijuana card holder, 100%. And since I've been using it, whenever it legalized, it's been a lot of years now since I've been out here, but I've dropped off 3 different medications, antidepressants, nerve meds. We could talk all day long. My personal opinion, I feel like it's a huge benefit. This is what pisses me off though. So there's a lot of firemen, engineers, captains, depending on the department. We don't really have lieutenants out on the West Coast. But basically, from captain down, we're union members across the entire state, probably the entire coast for the most part. What upsets me is what if I'm a captain right now, if I ever decided to promote to battalion chief, and now we were one of the
Mm.
first to have it across the board, I can no longer use it, which like blows my mind because we start talking about our chief officers, they have typically more time on the job, right? That's where they're at. So they have more injuries, more abuse, more PTSD, more trauma, probably more medications, high blood pressure. I mean, we could talk all day long, but all of a sudden, because they are command staff, they're no longer allowed to use it, and they're open to random urinalysis or whatever under the sun. It is confusing to me because we are telling firemen across the nation, and I really wish it was across the nation. Again, my personal opinion, it is so much better than fucking alcohol, opiates, everything under the sun. I'll give a quick little backstory. My dad in the American Fire Service was Lieutenant Donald Pumphrey. He worked for Anne Arundel County. He's a fucking man. I wanted to be just like the guy. He was assigned to the busiest single engine company house in the entire county. And he was there by choice. And he would tell me all the time, Steve, those motherfuckers don't work for the same fire department that we work for. He was proud of the calls he ran. And he had so much respect to the point where we would arrive on scene, second, third, fourth alarm. It didn't matter. Literally on the radio, Donald, come to the command post. And I'm riding the man's coattails. Hey, I don't know what those motherfuckers are doing right now. Go in there with your guys, put the fucking fire out. So again, I literally wanted to model my life, my career after him. He retired. Unfortunately, 2 years later, died of multi-system organ failure. So we would hang out. Um, off duty, on duty, everything else. And at that point, I felt like I was a pretty good professional drinker. I was a good fireman. I could rock down our natty lights, your keystones, everything under the sun. I couldn't compete with the man. And but the problem is when he retired, there was 24 hours during that shift schedule that he would never drink because he's at work or overtime. And when he retired, there was no more work. So then he drank
Right.
every day. And unfortunately he passed away. So the only good thing that ever came from my ex-wife, we all know how that worked out, was every year, unfortunately, well, for 2 years, right after he passed away, I would get annihilated. And I was honoring my brother, my dad, my mentor in the American Fire Service because I want to be just like him. And again, we had a lot of issues, but she did direct me in the right direction. So the second year of me celebrating my mentor's death, and I'm getting absolutely annihilated and being ridiculous, she goes, "Do you really want to end up like your mentor?" And you know what we're all alluding to. And I'm like, fuck, no, I don't. So I don't want to do 35 fucking years on the job like he did, serving, being a fucking badass. And then 2 years later, he's no longer here. He didn't even get to fucking
Mm.
enjoy his retirement. It sucks. So I am so grateful right now that we have options to use a different substance that is not harmful, and it clears our head, and it gets us off medication, and it doesn't destroy our liver. And these are all my personal opinions. But why the hell, again, Stephanie White's personal opinion, why the fuck doesn't every fire department offer this? State of Arizona, if I have a driver's license, I'm over the age of 21, I go get weed all day long. Go to the weed store, right? Virginia's different, I'm sure. Maryland's different, I'm sure. I don't know. New York's different, I'm sure. But why the hell, at least for the boys and the girls on the job, why isn't this a fucking option? Why would we rather guys be doped up on fucking Percocets, destroying their body, drinking themselves to death? Why would we prefer that? What do you think is it a culture thing? What's your personal opinion?
I think it's still fear left over from the Nancy Reagan 90s. When I was growing up in the DC area, I remember it was very much drilled into me, hey, if you ever do pot, you are not going to be able to get a top secret clearance. So the careers that family members held, I wasn't going to be able to join those. And that did actually keep me from touching it in high school. And then I joined the fire service. So to this day, I have yet to use marijuana, which is the funny thing because I go to a union event and I get called the pot lady by random strangers walking down the hall. I'm fine with it. But so the reason I started on that journey really quick was I got my first spine injury in 2018, and then I re-injured it another time, and then I smashed it in on a call, and I lost all feeling in my left leg. So when COVID comes around in 2020, I can't even work out to relieve the mental stress, or just the monotony of it all. So I was really stuck. So I discovered that every night at 5 o'clock, I was making myself a little cocktail, and then one little cocktail was turning into two or three. And it hit me one day. I think it was probably 4:50 or something. My body said, "Well, thank God we get to drink alcohol soon." And I thought, "Fuck, man! It's a Thursday night, and my body is looking for it already. Not it wasn't just my mind was looking for it; it was my body was physically looking for it." And that scared the crap out of me. And that was thing one. And then the other thing was I the pain levels got so great with the nerve damage in my back that I really knew that I started needing pain meds. And I thought, I don't want pain meds. I'm a ginger, so anything they give me isn't going to touch it. It's the truth. Pain meds don't work on me. What is it that I can do? And that's when I really started looking into it, and just the excuses that I've heard as a union rep defending people, or in classes when teaching this, just all the different things, the excuses are always the same. It's, well, we can't what happens if a guy comes completely stoned to work? Do you not talk to your people at shift exchange, at roll call, whatever you call it? Like, do you not look your people in the eyes? Because if your man came to work completely drunk, you would notice. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure if he was high as a kite, you would notice too. Also, you trust that we as adults on the job are freaking responsible and that we're gonna come into work not drunk. Why would we come into work high? I can just as easily come into work high as a kite on Percocet. I mean, we already have the option to use and abuse many different things in this world, and we don't. What is I don't understand along the lines of what you said, why there is this magical thought in people's minds that if we let the people have access to pot, they're just gonna go absolutely ape shit and abuse it. It's this ingrained cultural thing that we were raised with is the only answer I have because it was at every turn, right? The t-shirts, the commercials. The commercials. Go back and watch a 90s commercial. This is your brain
Dare.
on pot. You remember the this is your brain on pot with the snatched
Yeah.
egg? It just we are overcoming a media blitz that the people who are now in the positions of authority were subjected to, and it's still in the back of their minds that just we're all going to come into work with our freaking thumbs up our nose and fall over, and I don't know what they're thinking. But that is my theory is the stigma that was just beat into everybody's head growing up.
So
It's
it
still
it
there.
is it I never thought about that because I we are similar in age, and I do remember the dare. Like the dare, like literally the average the t-shirt.
The
They had fucking
the
t-shirts.
commercials, the pledges.
Yeah,
They were having
yeah.
everybody sign a pledge, but the commercials were the most off the wall, like, if you did a joint, you were gonna come in and murder your whole family.
It was a
They
gateway drug. You
gateway drug,
smoke the pot once and you're doing heroin tomorrow.
right? And I think that's the answer, is just this fear.
Mm,
Now part of it is, well, we can't test you if we think you're high. Well, yeah, you can.
yeah, you can.
So, it's
Yeah,
just
so
it's an excuse to this is what pisses me off. It's an excuse to not treat your people like adults. That's what really makes me mad. Is I mean, you don't have this fear as a fire chief that all your people are going to come in drunk on a Tuesday. Why do you have a fear that if you put pot in your SOPs and your MOUs, all your people are going to come in high as a kite on a Friday? Just stop.
So why would you think, and again, personal opinion, you might not even know the answer or have a conspiracy theory because that's kind of been at least my motive
I
today. But
always
why
have a
would you?
conspiracy theory.
Okay. So take my area, for example. I'm a captain. I'm allowed to use medical marijuana. I am a fucking supervisor. My battalion chief, one next level up, isn't. Why?
Is he in
Why
a
would
different
he
bar?
not?
Do you guys have a
He's
different bargaining unit or?
they are not protected by the union. No, they're no longer union members. But forget the union. Let's just talk about health and wellness in the American Fire Service. What makes me as a captain different than battalion chief?
So here's actually what makes you different in a worse way. You get to go back to the fire station and you get to sit at that kitchen table. You've had a shitty day, shitty call, whatever, and you get to break bread and bust balls with your shift, which is the greatest form of mental therapy that there is. That battalion chief, that deputy, that assistant, whoever it is, so often they're not getting to do that. They're not getting the camaraderie of riding backwards and making jokes on the way back from that call, quietly checking on each other. They're not sleeping in the bunk room, pulling pranks. They're in their own office. They're actually more at risk, humorously enough, because even though they might not be running that one horrible medic call, um, that doesn't mean they don't still have the memories that creep up, right? That hidden trauma that they never dealt with because they're 30 years in during the sucking up buttercup, so they never properly processed it because they just tried to suppress it instead of saying, honoring that trauma and saying, all right, here's the appropriate shelf to put it on. I don't have the answer as to what technically bargaining wise makes you guys different, but I think it's an interesting decision. By interesting, I mean, I think there's some wisdom that could go into a different decision because I do think they're at a different risk for mental health issues.
Yeah, and again, my personal opinion is I believe the battalion plus, so battalion deputy assistant, and then the chief, in theory, should have the most fucking trauma because they have the most time on the job. Typic Typically, you always have the hard chargers that or the admin guys that just kind of go across the board, but the majority of the guys and gals, they don't make battalion till they hit 20 plus. That means they have 20 plus fucking years of running bullshit all day, every day, trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. So now you're telling me that you can't use medical marijuana that's legal in the state that you live in as rec because you're a battalion chief? Again, it doesn't make any sense to me. Some guys have argued, they're like, well, there's, and you kind of alluded to it for a second. You're like, well, how do I know that you're altered? So, like, we even tell guys, our engineers, pump operators, chauffeurs, whatever you call them in your system, it is easy. Hey, if you're a chauffeur, you're driving the wagon or the truck, and God forbid someone hits you, call PD, everything else. Immediately, you're like, hey, I need a field sobriety test right now. That's it. That's all it is. I am sober right now. That's all you fucking need to know, because unlike alcohol, we all know that it's in your system for a long time. And if you're a habitual user, because it is a benefit to my health, I don't know, it's in my system longer because I've used it for a long time. And again, it's just not fair, but I can't imagine why any department in the American Fire Service would say, I'd rather you drink yourself right to death or use pain pills than use something that literally came from the earth. And again, personal opinion, has no negative effect except for making you maybe hungry and sleepy. But that's, again, that's just my opinion. So
Because we love stigma in the fire service. I mean, look how long it took for us to be like, you know what? My first fire when I was a baby teen, I remember wearing that smelly, nasty, sooty t-shirt for way
Mhm.
fucking longer than I should have. And it sat on the top shelf of my locker for way fucking longer than it should have. We finally stopped doing that, right? I remember when cleaning off your gear, just spraying it down became a thing. How many dudes, myself included, were like, nah, whatever, I'm fine. I don't need that.
Mhm.
I mean, we've watched the culture shift with that, right? We've watched the culture shift with mental health. We've watched it with all these things. This is just the next step where we're watching us overcome a stigma because it's just, we're human beings. And we're even more dug in, I think, in the fire service with our stigmas.
I hope you're right, Steph, honestly, because you're right. I mean, I remember back east, there was a point where I came back and firefighters wore yellow lids where I came from. And I remember my yellow lid was pretty much black. And I came back and it was this really weird, like pale yellow. And I'm like, what the fuck? They only clean your shit if they're pissed at you for something. And I pissed off a guy, a backstep dude from another shift at the same house. And guess what he did? Clean my lid. So what did I ask him? I'm like, dude, how'd you get that shit off? He goes, I use gasoline. I'm like, cool. And of course, thank God my lieutenant at the time, Lieutenant Pumphrey, is there and is like, put her under the wheel. And I'm like, I'm sorry, boss. What? He goes, put it under the fucking dually right now. I'm like, yes, sir. And guess what we did? We ran it the fuck over. And then we went to resource and said, hey, my fireman's an asshole and left his lid on the
That's that's
floor.
that's less paperwork than telling the previous story.
Yep.
I am
And
all
guess
about the less paperwork.
so, but I mean, again, I hope, Steph, I hope you're right, honestly, because I don't, my goal in life, what in my professional career was to make the spot that I'm currently in. So I have no desire to go above, but I would if it was beneficial for either that department or the American Fire Service, because I feel like I can make a difference. I hope that they do make that change one day where it is a more normalized thing, because you and I both grew up around the same time in the American Fire Service where it was cool to have dirty gear. Again, like we were talking about, if you shit got like clean because you pissed somebody off, We slept next to our stuff. We had one set, whatever it is. And guys listening now, they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. They got two sets. It's in a completely separate area, the whole freaking building. And these are all really good things. They're great things. It's just stuff that we didn't know. So I'm hoping that you're right, that it does eventually transition, that it's a positive more than a negative. Because again, if we can get our members off prescription medication, that's only a benefit. And again, these are all Steve Orsini's personal opinions, you know?
Well, think about how many this is another one of my favorite topics is firemen and ADHD. Think about how many people truly need that drink to turn off their brain at the end of the day, not in an alcoholic way, but just the wheels do not freaking slow down. I'm not going to be able to sleep. Um, and just being able to utilize a gummy or something like that. Listen, there are some medical side effects for certain people, just like it
Mhm.
with any medication. It is a medication. Some people will have side effects, um, but that's normally not a lot smaller of a window than other medications. SSRIs, do we want dudes to be on something that's going to mess with their hypothalamus and their ability to sweat? We're setting people up for heat stroke with certain medications that we put them on for their mental health.
Legit, there's meds that I was on at one point that I took myself off because it literally said like avoid hot atmospheres. And I'm like, are you fucking, and the doctor knows what I do for a living. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, if I didn't do that research on my own, I'd have no idea why all of a sudden I'm passing out when I put my gear on or when we get a job. Like, how embarrassing would I feel? Because I'd be thinking there's something wrong, you know? And it's a fucking
Doctors,
medication.
they know what we do, but they don't. I mean, I remember going to a an oncologist one year because I had a bunch of scarring in my lungs, and our OHC doc was like, "All right, listen, you got to go get that checked out." And the doc said, "Oh, I'm not worried because you don't have any increased. You're really healthy. You don't have any increased cancer
Yep.
risks." I said, "Doc, I'm a firefighter," and he said, "Oh, but that doesn't change anything." And I thought, Jesus fucking things. Okay,
Okay.
thanks, doc. Not dying today? Cool. I'm just gonna walk out of here. They
Yep.
don't.
You're right. The docs don't understand what we actually do for a living. Like they try to understand, but again, it's on the brothers and sisters to take care of. More importantly, take care of yourself, but take care of the guys and the girls in your house. So I hope that eventually changes across the country because it drives me crazy when I talk to my boys and gals back east that they don't have the same luxuries that I have with it being legal,
Maryland is
accepted.
fighting hard right now.
I hope that they come through because it was like that's a hard fast state. I remember guys pushing because where I worked, a lot of guys lived in definitely in the outskirts, but most guys lived in Pennsylvania, so the next state over.
Pennsylvania.
Um, yeah, you understand, but it's funny. So Pennsylvania compared to Maryland, the gun laws completely fucking different. It's pretty much if you have a pulse and a breath, you can get a concealed carry in Pennsylvania. In Maryland, they have correctional officers that cannot get a permit to conceal carry without at least 3 documented cases where there is a threat to their fucking life, which is ridiculous. So it is insane that every state is so different, but I hope to God that they at least look out for their first responders, PD, fire. I mean, fire obviously especially because that's where my heart grows, but it just it's nuts on how even neighboring states are so dramatically different. And we're the same. I mean, we butt up to California. I am very grateful that I don't live in California. I'll just leave it at that. Um, but again, completely different, just a couple hours away, you know.
No, I was shocked that we got it before before Maryland did. I was absolutely amazed.
All right, so we kind of beat that up a little bit.
Next conspiracy theory. What we got? What's on the
Next,
docket?
well, no, actually, I don't even have another conspiracy theory for you. I really just got a question. So you retired. So what you're doing now, I understand. So you went to a slower house. You're like, hey, I'm going to do it more. Now I'm
No, I
retired.
didn't. I didn't go to a slower house. I had to retire
Oh, I thought you said
instead.
you went to a slower house.
No, I was trying to bargain with Rhodes. I was like, "Can I stay if I go to a slower house? I can do more work."
I gotcha. All right, I misunderstood. And again,
Nope.
Rhodes, the man, freaking one of the most aggressive firemen ever. I love the man through and through. Never even met him, but I listen to everything he has to say, and he is a true. He is a. He is after the American Fire Service through and through. So I love the fact that you have a personal relationship with him. I am extremely jealous. So when that opportunity hit your lap, obviously to me it would be a no-brainer, but how much of a transition for you was there coming from being at the house from your position to literally being, and please excuse my ignorance, you're basically the boss of your biz? I mean, please correct me, educate the audience, educate myself, if you don't
So
mind.
so Firefighter Nation, what that
Yes.
is fire engineering took itself and split it in two. So
Okay.
David took everything to do with tactics and training, and now I have everything to do with culture. So
I
culture
love the culture.
itself, mental health, wellness, if it falls inside the firehouse, essentially, before you get to that call, I have it, and then he's got the whole call thing. So
Nice.
that's how that is. Yes, I'm the boss of that brand, but luckily for me, anytime I have any distress or question, I got David right over there. So
There you go.
anytime I know he's annoyed with me, I just remind him that he picked me. So it's a nice little thing.
Yeah, maybe you're not wrong. So
But
with your new position now, though, so what is so normally we would ask guys like, hey, like what's your goal? Like what's your next career move? Would it be if you're in the right front seat, are you trying to become a station captain or trying to become Italian? So you've already done that. You're there. So now you're in your retirement gig. So what's your next step? You have most people's dream jobs. Is there a next step, or are you just gonna freaking ride it as long as you can? What's Stephanie White's goal for the next part
uh,
of her career? Her new career.
so my career is I'm going to be in this spot until I feel like I have created enough comfy voices
Oh,
that can take over. Like once I feel like there's enough people in each category that I will hand off that baton and I'm going to go sit in a news desk and yell at both sides of the equation. That's my true
oh,
dream job is just to tell everybody that they're all idiots who are paid off by the PACs. No,
that's hysterical.
I realize that I'm in a really, really, really cool spot. I will stay in that spot as long as that I feel I am in a certain amount of touch with the fire service. But
I
I'm
get it.
highly aware of the fact that, you know what, I retired 3 months ago. The second I came off that engine, a timer started. And I will only be able to be in touch with the fire service for a certain amount of time. And once I realize that we've all seen those people who have stayed in the circuit for too long.
Yeah.
And once somebody looks me in the face and says, "Hey, you're not in touch with what's going on in that firehouse anymore," I will hand the baton. So until then, I will be working frantically to make sure that there are voices that have a platform in all those different categories that I truly care about and think need a voice.
I
And then
love
I'm
it.
gonna go yell at
So,
I'm gonna go yell at the nation. I don't know. Run for president.
oh, hell, yeah, they're well, even better. So, everyone that's still listening, so Stephanie White, she's for, I hate to say this. So, I always say that you're for the boys, and it's not a fucking sexist thing. You don't even understand how much fucking shit I get for saying firemen all the time. So I'm going to blanket this statement again. I've done this multiple times. Well, first of all, you graduate the goddamn academy, it says firefighter. The boys, and when I say the boys, it's your crew decides when you're a fireman. That means either back east for us, that was a fucking nasty 962 extrication car accident, or a ripping basement fire. That was our rule. And if you did a good job, guess what? You're a fucking fireman. And that had nothing to do with your sex. And I tell guys all the time, I know plenty of females out here that are firemen. I know plenty of males that are firefighters. And that's all it comes down to. But with the boys, so again, I apologize for that, but it's just my verbiage. Thank you for like the guys that are still listening. Stephanie White is here for us right now. She just said it because as soon as she feels like she's irrelevant, she's gone, which I wish most people would do, because there's guys that just won't fucking leave, and we can never transition either as a department or a culture until they leave, because they have such a fucking pull because of either seniority or respect from back in the day. So again, Stephanie, thank you for being just a realistic, but more importantly, for the American Fire Service, just being proactive and being just a I want to say cheerleader, but you're trying to help us out as a whole. So thank you for that. Um Before we kind of transition off the health and wellness and go towards like the end of the episode, is there anything that you would love to talk about, or anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to hit on before we kind of transition to the questions for the end of the season?
It's actually funny because the fireman thing is something I see debated often. I have never been bothered by being called a fireman because it's a gender neutral term to me. And I think to anyone who doesn't like the term, or anybody who is annoyed that somebody doesn't like the term, I think that term all comes down to intent, right? Like, are you specifically saying it to annoy a chick that you know doesn't like it? Everything in life comes down to intent when it comes to interpersonal relationships. So, as long as you're not using the word to be obnoxious and annoying, it's gender neutral. We're all firemen. We're all firefighters.
Fucking goddamn, thank you, fucking Stephanie White, for fucking saying that, because I've had literally, I even had somebody I highly respect. So a female I highly respect that runs a very successful Instagram and podcast and everything else, literally like to tell me like, hey, Steve, like, how would you feel if every day you went to work it needs to be like, welcome to the sisterhood? And I said, if the sister started it, I would be honored, is what my answer was. And that's the truth, because it's just a tradition for me. And that's how I
But you know
feel
what?
about it.
She's probably had somebody in the past be an absolute dick to her with that word. I have seen dudes do it. So I say that to put that in the back of your mind. If somebody is offended by the word and you're like, why the fuck? They're not offended by the word. They're offended by the actions someone stupid once did to them. That's really what it is. So have a little grace and say, hey, what is going on here? Can I find out why the word bothers you? And that might be the hidden truth, is
I
somebody
actually
decide to.
actually really like that, because that's a lot easier for me to digest, because literally most of the time my response is when someone gives me pushback. I get pushback from guys all the time, and I tell them, I'm like, listen, well now it's 2026, I'm like, listen, if you can identify as he, them, they, whatever, I can absolutely identify as a fucking fireman, so fuck off. But again, I speak my mind. So I love that perception, and thank you for, honestly, thank you for opening my eyes to a different light, because I never viewed it through that lens, and that it does make a lot of sense to me. So I will be a lot more kind to that, because it does make sense, and kind of get down to the beef of it, because again, it's not a me thing, it's not a word thing. It's I love the American Fire Service more than probably 95% of guys and girls on the job. And because I love it so much is why I talk the way I talk, because it's a passion and love for the job I have, and it's never meant derogatory, ever. But
There is
uh,
some aspect of this job that somebody has ruined for all of us. There's something in all our careers where we hear it and we cringe because somebody decided to be a D-bag along the way with it.
mm,
Just
but
how it is.
well, we'll lighten it up a little bit. The weed lady that's never smoked a day in her life says, let's fucking go, right? So hell yeah, I'm in. I love the fact that like someone actually called you that. You've never used so well, we're just gonna I'm never again. I'm literally gonna put under your contact information like weed
Hot
lady,
lady.
because the pot, oh, okay, I'm sorry, the pot lady, even better. So health and wellness, definitely not safety, is out the window. Let's transition, trying it towards the questions for the end. So we never learned the why. We've been talking for almost an hour. So we always ask the why. So why did Stephanie White decide to become a firefighter? Like, when it, did you literally like? So I always refer back to my boy Kevin Weiss. Literally came out of the womb with a Halligan. My boy Colin Ward, 24-foot ladder, high shoulder, coming out of his mom. What happened? Me, I came into it later on in life. So what's your story? Why'd you become a fireman?
So I was the kid at the school firehouse visits who couldn't be less interested, didn't give a damn, whatever.
Really?
Didn't oh yeah, didn't think twice about it. And I got to do a lot of international aid stuff every year in high school. And I came back from one trip. I was in Eastern Europe before Romania joined the EU. And I came home and I thought, you know what? I would love to do, because I was working with an orphanage group, I would love to do something in the medical field. And a buddy of mine, we're having pizza one night, was asking his girlfriend, her mom's a nurse. What's it like to be a nurse? And he goes, well, I'm an EMT. And I said, fuck is an EMT? So I showed up at the volunteer firehouse at their next meeting to get voted in, and the career guys just looked at me and were like, "Nah." And they pulled me into their office and they said, "Why are you here, and what is it you're trying to accomplish?" So I told them, and they stuck me in medic school right away. I thought I was going to work for that county. I went to go practice the CPAT one county over, and I passed it. And they said, "Well, we're going to hire you." Went into recruit school and thought, "Ugh, I have to do this fire stuff in order to be a medic, whatever, I'll do it and I'll go happily be on the medic unit." First burn we did, I was like, what is this feeling? Just, it was the most fun I've ever had in my life, the most challenged I've ever been. I think I made a joke earlier about all of us having ADHD. I
Mhm.
think so many of us do. And I think when you get into a fire, I just think the world shuts up. I just think it's quiet and it's you knowing what you have to do. And it's just, it's probably the closest thing to being high that you can ever get to if you're neurodivergent. The world just slows down and changes and it's fun in a different way. Fucking fell in love with it, man. So I did not come into the fire service expecting to be a firefighter. I came into the fire service expecting to make fun of firefighters, because everybody I'd ever met who was a firefighter was just absolutely obnoxious. And I thought, okay, well, I'll torture some people and have some fun in a medic unit. And it turned out not being the case. So I did not have your typical journey whatsoever.
I love the story. I've never heard a story like that, which is amazing. It's like I literally fell in love with it during, like, correct me if I'm wrong, like rookie school, pro B school, like the
Hmm.
academy. And it's
Like
freaking
the
awesome.
academy.
You're like, all right, whatever. I'm going to get through this bullshit fire stuff so I could be a medic. And then you're like, oh my God. But I never thought of it exactly how you just said it, because ADHD, yes. OCD, yes. Literally die fucking agnosed, but it's okay. Uh, you're right though. Fuck. I never thought of it that way. It is a weird calm and
It
an
is.
enjoyable and again, the guys and girls listen, they understand an enjoyable experience. They understand what we're talking about when we say that. But like you're right. Holy shit. And I never figured that out.
It's your NFL moment, because it is you competing against you when everything starts to hurt. You're like, shut the fuck up. I'm going to accomplish this. Oh, and I'm going to do it better than the last time. So whatever skill I've been practicing, it's like, yes, we're going to go do it. It's an amalgamation of different things, of just an adrenaline to perform at a certain perfection that you've been practicing for, but just a quiet calm in the middle of chaos.
Literally.
Where else
Yes.
are you going to find that? Where someone isn't shooting at you as well most of the time.
I don't know. I don't know, but I love the outlook, and it makes so much fucking sense. I'm pissed off that I just heard about it for the first time right now, but I'm grateful that you educated me. So thank you. That's
You can copyright it. You can have it.
oh, okay. I'll take it. I'll put the Steve Orsini mix on it. I'll add a couple F bombs and we'll be good to go. It went from Stephanie White to Steve O. We're good. So, all right. So now we know the why, literally by accident. And it's funny because we talk all the time and you're going to be episode 40 is something by the time we drop, but everyone I've talked to so far, it has been 50-50. Coming out of the womb like my boy Kevin Weiss, or we find it by accident like you and me. Literally,
Yeah.
it's nuts. But when we find it, and please correct me if you feel different, it is a calling. It's the best thing that's ever happened. It's obviously more than a job. It's a passion. It's a love. It's a service. You can name it every which way. I wholeheartedly love the American Fire Service through and through. So it's for me, it's an act of love because I love our traditions. I love our job, but it's crazy that we all fall into it one way or the other, and I've yet to, well, I shouldn't say that. I've yet to meet a real brother or sister that just doesn't fucking love it, when everything's said and
It's
done.
it's an addiction. You asked me earlier what the hardest adjustment was, and I only half answer the question because I was talking about the brand. I was being a good salesperson. The hardest part of the transition was everything. I mean, we have a job where we are, if you have a good shift, even on the shittiest of days, in fact, the shittier the day gets, you just get to a certain punch drunk point, and it's this thing, right? You are hanging out with some of your favorite people who 6 months ago could have been complete strangers, who now you're going to be texting even when you get off because something, a meme, whatever it is. It's just so many factors that make this so insanely unique. One thing alone would make somebody addicted to it, but when you put them all together, being able to physically push yourself. The weirdest thing that I missed was I moved from the DC area, literally could see the capital, down to Richmond. And I grew up in that area, born and raised, running emergency calls in that area for 23 years. I had never lived anywhere where I didn't, in my daily travel, see at least a couple homeless people that I didn't know. And now on my daily run or walk, I see people and I don't know their names. I don't have their stories. And it was the most disconnected feeling in the world.
Mm.
And I couldn't pinpoint why I felt this little kind of faux depression. And I sat down and I realized we are so insanely connected to to the real world in a way that nobody else is. We are grounded in a way that no one else, obviously, nurses, doctors, and cops probably go through that as well. But we just have a sense of reality and we're in touch with the world around us that nobody else is. Because now that I'm living this civilian life, I don't have that insight into the community around me. And it sucks, man. And you realize how lonely and disconnected the world is. Like people are just going around with their heads up their derrieres, not seeing what's going on. And we had this amazing insight into all of us. What a fucking gift. Sorry to be on the soapbox, but that was the hardest thing for me is was realizing how disconnected the world is from their communities. And we get to be a part of that and to have all this fun, go back to the firehouse and be a bunch of jackasses at the kitchen table.
Mhm.
Dude, show me where else you can have a career like that. Like
Nowhere,
fuck. Nowhere.
nowhere,
You
nowhere.
can't.
And I want to piggyback off of what you just said too, because so we talk about it all the time, but we talked about the downside of our job in the very beginning, like the death, the cancers, the PTSD, the traumas, the divorces. I mean, you name it. But with all that bullshit out of the way, you're right. We're connected, and it is nobody else. Cops, no, they don't get the same experience that we get. We're
Oh, no, they
welcome to
don't.
them typically. They're shamed. Military, they experience more PTSD in a period of time, a short period of time, than we ever will. But we have that prolonged. So but it is. And if you don't appreciate the brothers and sisters at your house, guess what? It's time to fucking retire because it is such a fucking amazing experience. And And I am grateful for sitting down with this episode because you have reignited a lot of the nuances that I kind of felt like were correct, but you're driving that home for me right now, where it's like, yeah, this is, no matter what what season you are in your career, you're absolutely right. Listen to Miss White right now when she's saying there is nothing. She's retired and she misses it, right? And I feel like that should be a thing because it's that special. But again, when it's your time to leave, fucking go do some better things in life. Some people need to leave because they're fucking toxic, not Miss White. Other people need to leave because they need to do better things that help us back out in the field later. And I'm grateful for what you're doing, but it's great to know your why. And thank you for sharing that experience and story with all the listeners. So now we kind of know a little bit more about your why. Let's talk about some more fun stuff. So traditions. I've been kind of harping on it the entire episode. I talk about it every time. And again, one of the reasons why I love this job so much is the traditions the American Fire Service have. So let me ask you, Stephanie, what is your favorite American Fire Service tradition? So it doesn't have to be from that DC metropolitan area that you came from. It could be, though. But what's your favorite tradition? More importantly, though, why? Why do you love it so much?
So one of the cool things about being at the busier houses is your rookie houses. And I have to phrase this right so I don't get into trouble because I can't use the word bully, but uh
Just say
be,
haze. They love hazing.
no, not even haze.
Just kidding.
Beating down the rookies and taking them because we had kid after kid after kid in a row, and getting to watch them grow up and watch the light bulbs click and teach them life lessons and keep them on their toes. We always had so much fun at my last assignment with our rookies in a healthy, positive way.
Mm.
Yeah. We were loud with them, right? But the trade-off was if we were loud with you, we also let you come into the shift pretty quickly because it was also a beat down call volume house. So we let you in and we let you watch the movies and stuff when we're in the day room at night. We didn't do that. But we verbally gave it to them otherwise. And it was just fun watching them over that year grow into a fireman and just fun watching, there were moments where they failed you and they failed you because of their own fault and you had been over something a million times and watching that sense of accountability and all those different things occur in a person. It's like speed watching an entire childhood. You're watching your baby go from born to adult in a year. And it's just having fun with your probies, being hard on your probies, watching the firemen that they can become. That that was something that was always fun to me. That was a cool tradition. There were there's definitely one probie and they are no longer in the fire service who, the concept of the coffee and the cleaning and oh, I'm being picked on. We always have to fight to keep probie year what it is. And I think some people are getting scared or nervous and saying, "Oh, okay, well, fine, whatever, I'll make the coffee myself or do." No, there's a reason behind everything we do your probie year. We if you can't keep that coffee pot full, then I know you can't do the little things on the calls that I've been beating into your head over and over and over, right? There's a reason for all of it. So, the tradition of probie year, a healthy, fun probie year. Not a toxic one, a healthy, fun one where you want your person to make you proud. Ah, no, the traditions of the probie year are my favorite tradition. As long as it's a healthy, happy one.
Amazing. And it's funny. So 40 plus episodes, everyone has an answer. No one has said that yet. And I feel like I'm saying that more and more, which is it makes me so happy because I get to hear more people talk about their favorite American Fire Service tradition, which is amazing. And yes, I have the privilege right now of working at a regional training facility that trains 11 different cities. So I get to get I get to influence uh guys with 0 days on the job to get them ready to be good probationary firefighters. And part of that is we tell them, listen, if the guys and girls are making fun of you, good. You're doing a good job. You should be worried when they stop talking to you because now they
When
gave
you
up.
walk in the room and they're quiet, we're done with you.
Exactly. So if they're razzing you up and giving you a hard time, that means you're doing a good job. And I wish there is a regime, and I hope it passes eventually, that, and again, the dare, right? We talked about that with the drugs and everything else. It's the same age group, unfortunately, but they're saying that they put that as hazing, and it's not. It is a tradition. We are doing this to benefit the member, which is what I believe a lot of chief officers, unfortunately, sometimes they forget that. And they went through it, which is even crazier, and they're doing just fine. So I'm just curious on your opinion on that.
Are you are you pissing on the t-shirt they left around and stuffing it in their boots to make their gear mildew, or
No,
you
you were
just
dumping water on them after their first good job. You're razzing them up because they forgot to keep the pot of coffee hot. Or even better, it's their first meal that they ever cooked, and the entire crew's
God,
being assholes because the guy's trying to be nice. Hey boys, I'm gonna cook steak. And what do you think's gonna happen? I want my medium. I
no.
want my medium rare. I want my medium well. They're purposely gonna give you the most fucked up order to make sure that you fail, right? But they're
Do you
doing that.
know what happens when you feed an incredibly tired shift what basically looks like mush? That that young man will never forget that day because I think that day probably stretched into a month for him.
Oh yeah.
No, listen, I think that the difference is intent. Are you trying to hurt this person? That is hazing. Are you trying to belittle them? How do you want them to feel after this is over? And if you don't care how they feel, you just want to laugh and have fun, then that's no. But are you trying to toughen them up a little? Toughen them up isn't even a good one. Listen, it's just the initiation into becoming an asshole like the rest of us is really what it is because I've watched a couple of those probies and then they get somebody come in. I mean, 2 days after they're done with their probie year, we're getting another one. And watching them with those ones are hilarious. But because we built up such a trust through humor, it's also cool to watch the sibling big brother dynamic of gently showing them things in private, correcting in private when it needs to be done. You're you're using humor to build trust and to teach lessons. You'll know when it's hazing. Poor intent, poor intent makes it hazing.
Yeah. If you're shoving a jalapeno up someone's ass while you're tying them or duct taping the backboard on a flagpole, yeah, you're fucking hazing them. But if you're dumping a 5-gallon bucket of ice water from the top of the wagon on top of them when you get a quote unquote crew pick that everybody knows what's gonna happen, right? We are welcoming you to the fucking family. And if you're listening, or a chief officer, fucking shame on you if you don't understand that by now. And if you don't, go back and talk to the guys in the field because the we all will become disconnected, myself included. I've been at the training academy for a year and a half, and every time crews come in, the first thing I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, I want the gossip. I want it all because I miss it because it's part of our culture. I would not trade my position for the best ladder captain position in the world right now because I honestly believe that my influence can directly affect my region greater where I am compared to being a badass ladder captain, which I hope I would be. That is the only reason. But don't get me wrong, I miss every fucking second of being on the truck right now. And I'm sure you probably feel the same at times.
So retirement date was coming up pretty close. They call me the Wicked Witch of Mount Vernon during my career. And interestingly enough, my last shift day would have been Halloween. So I was like, well, that's a sign.
Yeah.
it was coming up, and me and my husband were talking about moving down to Richmond in the DC area. And I said, Richmond hires laterals. And he
Oh,
said,
okay. Yeah, there you
he,
go.
he said, you idiot, you're retiring because your body is broken and you can't do the job anymore without hurting someone else. And it was just funny because even as I was retiring, I was like, oh, I can keep doing it over here. And he's like, no, that is not the point of it. The point is you're at the point where you can't, my shoulder was subluxing out every time I'd throw a ladder. Like I physically was going to fail at the job and get somebody hurt. But even knowing that, our brains are like, oh, I can keep doing this.
I
It's
gotta do this
just,
again.
it's, I think no matter what position you're in, you're always going to miss that kitchen table. I would like, and I wonder, is that, then this is a whole different conversation. Is that what is wrong with people as they climb the management chain? Some people, they're not going to be good at it, but some people you look at them and you say, why did you change? Maybe it's because they got away from that kitchen table with everybody
Mhm.
having some verbal fun with them, keeping them in their place, but also mentally keeping them right because of the just said. It's just a theory. That's my conspiracy theory.
No, well, I'll tell you what, I agree with you. And there is a very small select few, and I try to make it a point when I talk to them. My current ops chief right now is one, right? One of the few that's still I always call him, and I say this, I say, hey, outside of all the red tape, I said, thank you for still being a fireman's chief. And what I mean by that is they still remember, and unfortunately it's the few, not the majority, they still remember what it's like to be in the truck, to be at the kitchen table, to be at the house with the boys, the banter, the traditions, everything else, they still remember. Thank God. And I hope if I ever decide to promote to that level one day, and God help the city that decides to make me that position, but I hope I retain that. All kidding aside, though, if you're a chief officer and you're still listening, just remember what it was like to be back in the truck. Stephanie said the same thing. Like, it's the best spot in the world. That kitchen table, the camaraderie, everyone experienced it at some point in their career. And if you're still in the job, you know why. So we know Stephanie's why. We know her favorite tradition, which is amazing. Again, a brand new one, which is cool. So let's ask my favorite question, right? I know you're retired, Steph, but I'm going to
You
promote.
have said that way too many times. I'm going to go cry into my pillow because you've definitely reminded me that I'm retired. It's only been
Well,
3 months.
I'm jealous is why, right? I'm jealous. I'm older than you, and I got a lot more time to still do till I'm even eligible because I lost everything when I went from east to west. So it's just a jealousy thing. But I'm going to promote you, right? So you're not retired. You're the commissioner, the chief, right, of the freaking American Fire Service. So more importantly, though, through FM, the guys that listen to me, they don't understand what that means. Fucking magic. Snap your fingers. No sweat equity, instant gratification. You can change something in the American Fire Service. So that's insert, delete, whatever you want to do. What would it be? But really, more importantly, why? Why are you changing, adding, inserting, deleting, whatever it is in the American Fire Service? Please explain if you have an answer.
So I have to make sure I get this right so I don't get canceled. Corporate HR training in the fire service.
Ooh,
And
explain.
the reason I say corporate, um, replace that with conflict resolution. Because we sit there and we watch these videos on our online platforms, and it's just, we fast forward through them, we mute them, whatever. It's just, hey, well, I'm on this run. Do me a favor and click the next button, right?
Yep.
If it says you're not allowed to inappropriately touch your coworker, please put no as the answer when we're on this call.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous and it teaches absolutely nothing. But that's mandatory. We make our people sit through a couple hours of that kind of stuff every year. And what we don't teach, and it pisses me off in any way, shape, or form, is how to say I'm sorry. If you and I are sitting at the kitchen table, once again, culture, right? So probably around 2010-ish, I think this culture of litigation fear really seeped into the fire service. And so because people did legitimately bad things in some cases, We lost our ability to make some jokes, to have some fun, and all that kind of stuff because we don't, kind of like how we don't believe our people can't come in completely high as a kite if we let them use marijuana. We don't believe that if somebody says something offensive accidentally, accidents do sometimes happen, that they can't sit with that other person and say, hey, I'm sorry. You looked like this bothered you. Is there something, like, talk to me here. If we put the same restrictions on the conversations at the kitchen table in the firehouse as we did on our marriages, we'd all be divorced within a week. Like, we're not allowed to say, I'm sorry. We're not allowed to mess up. We're not allowed to do this. It's ridiculous. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen for a bunch of people who are then supposed to flawlessly perform on incredibly unstable, life-altering, life-changing scenes. And this is the culture you want to put on us? It's just, it's my favorite class to teach. There's an EEO, so federal EEO is called EEOC, and they quietly released a report in 2017 that said, hey, we were wrong. If something bad happens, allow people to handle that conflict at the lowest level. That's where the greatest success is. And you don't hear anybody talking about that. It's like, hey, do you see this? It says that I'm allowed to fuck up, but as long as I go to that person, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, this wasn't malicious. Can we have a conversation? Like that shit can stay in house. I remember my very first salty frickin' New York walrus handlebar mustached captain looked at me. I don't think he was terribly happy that he was getting a female as his last rookie. He looked at me. He's like, yo, we fucking keep everything in the house around here. I was like, all right, cool. Learn that lesson from day one. And then one of my other favorite captains at Station 13, he looked at me. He said, hey, you guys can throw punches on that back ramp. I do not care at all. If it doesn't get solved out there, it's going to get solved in here with me, but it's never going to leave the walls of these firehouses. And that was the healthiest shift. One of the healthiest shifts I've ever been on was the leaders who had the mindset of, no, we're gonna figure shit out here. And because of that, everybody treat each other with a certain amount of respect. Because by the way, that also means that if you say something really douchey to me, I get to take you back, right? I get to take you to task. So mind your P's and Q's. And it really, it creates an ecosystem of watching out for each other. If there is that one person there who's a bad apple might not be so willing to say something if they know that big brothers and big sisters are going to come kick their, no, not kick their ass, but, handle them accordingly. That would be the one thing that I would magically erase, is that corporate mindset of litigation and HR and how we tell people to handle conflict. It's stupid, it's dumb, it's archaic, it's ineffective, and it causes harm.
Steph, I fucking love it. Yeah, no one's even said anything like that. And it sparked a couple like stories in my head when you're talking, and I'm thinking back. It's like, I remember we went through, and it's exactly what you said, like a corporate HR training. This was years ago. I even more than 5, I would say. But I remember it was a big deal because the chiefs were like super nervous. They're like, all right, guys, we have to go to this new HR training. So what do we do? What do firemen do when they meet each other? They fucking hug, they grab ass, they do whatever, right? And we're doing all this literally. Oh, brother, love you. Hey, sis, love you, right? We're all hugging in front of the HR directors, and they are losing their fucking mind because little did we know it was all about inappropriate touching, right? So we're not allowed to hug, but this was a citywide corporate training that absolutely the fire
Not the
service
place
should
to
not
send
be
us,
involved.
no.
And it did not, let's put it this way, it did not last very long, to the point where like the chiefs are like, listen, please stop hugging just for the next like 2 hours. And we're like, bullshit, what the fuck? And they're like, please don't say bullshit and what the fuck either. And we're like, why? One fucking bitch said that. We're like, oh shit, they were like, we're fucking diving down big time. But they rapidly realized that, holy shit, maybe all the corporate, training is not meant for everybody. And I believe that because, again, no offense to, let's just call her Sarah, that works at the HR desk. She also doesn't pull little Betty Sue that's 2 years old out of the pool that drowned. She doesn't do compressions on Grandma Schmerkins, in front of the family. She doesn't take the teenager that's 14-year-olds that looks just like my daughter, right? That rides a skateboard, and we cut her out of the car and she has an internal decap, and how I have to deal with that.
Mm.
They don't handle that stuff. And and I know those are fucking personal stories. That's why we talk like that. But we have our own way to deal with that. And I tell people now all the time, especially what we talked about earlier, there's so many of our brothers and sisters that are passing away way too prematurely. So I try to make it a point, no matter what, when you see your brother and your sister, even if it's been a day or a month, hug them and say, hey, I love you, right? Because we love each other and we have that bond. But again, I love the fact, because that corporate mindset should never be for a service. And we talk about it, and I'm sure you've had those experiences, because one of my biggest gripes is the police department and the fire department, we are services. So DC metro area, Baltimore metro area, Arizona, Phoenix area, we'll call it, right? We are a service. So if you want businesses and tax dollars and revenue to come in, we cost a lot of fucking money. But if you want them to come in, they come in because you have a good fire department and a good police department. The services, you should never try to balance your budget or any bullshit like that on your services, your police and fire. Again, personal opinions of mine, but it's like, I'm not putting words in your mouth by any means, please. But I think we feel the same, you know?
Well, listen, I had a lot of not a lot. I had some very memorable characters in my career who were out to do the wrong thing and were relentless with it, and made my life miserable a couple of different times. But for each one that there was, 2 to 3 to 4 people, when they finally saw it, because who's gonna stand up and say, "Hey, this is going on," when it's going on, right? So, unfortunately, a lot of times you're waiting for somebody to see it, but my God, once they did, holy crap. It just was, "No, this is one of our people. You are absolutely gonna stop this behavior right now." I watched dudes know, 'cause I had a situation with the captain, and, he transferred the first person out. I had dudes knowing, if I stand up for this chick, I'm going to get punished. It's going to affect my career, and they did it anyway. We have that capability within us, right? Do not take away the joy in our firehouses because of the sins of the minorities. Trust that the majority of those people in the firehouse are going to do the right thing, and give us the tools and the space to do that. Because if you take it away, we're not going to have the tools and the space to run those calls well.
Look, I can't echo that any better. It's just you're absolutely right. You could talk everything about PTSD, all the above, right? If you let the guys be guys, we'll just put it that way, things will work out. We'll handle within ourselves and we'll figure it out. As soon as the administration inserts the letter of the law, that's usually when there's issues. So then that's when you have headlines of firefighter from city, county of drunk driving, prostitution, beats his wife, kills his dog, whatever, like all the worst case scenarios. But I hate to say it, that shit happens all day, every day to the general public, and we never hear about it. We only hear about it because what it says on our shirt, the Maltese
Mhm.
cross, right? And we try to, again, I try to instill in the new generation coming on that cross that we all wear on our chest, on that trust, and then the name on the, out here in the region I work in, we're lucky enough that we wear t-shirts and not the fucking powder blue or whatever you guys had to wear. I know what
Well,
I had to wear.
that's because you guys are all apparently in better shape.
We are, right? Yeah, and it's fucking hot. So, but
And it was
we
a
always
dark
say,
blue button up. Thank you very much.
okay, but we have the name of our departments on the back of our t-shirts, and we always say the name is a big billboard. The reason why the name on the back is bigger than the name on the front is because that's what we represent, on and off duty. But Stephanie, listen, thank you so much. We got to know so much about you, but more importantly, Thank you for being an advocate for the American Fire Service. Thank you. After 23 years on the job, you're still giving back because now you're able to put out articles and screen guides and be able to put out really good information to benefit the new generation. We say it all the time. Like, if you're not asking the why and not trying to be better or learn something new, either 0 days on the job or 20 years on the job, you should be trying to learn something new every day. And that's doing something like reading magazines, fire engineering, right? Fire, Firefighter Nation, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, podcasts, anything under the sun. So it's like, if you're not out there actively trying to seek the information, shame on you, because we have, compared to when we got on the job, right? We only had our senior firemen or officer to listen to. And we realized later, half the time they were assholes and they were wrong, but we took it as gospel. So we have all these researches or all these resources, excuse me, now. So shame on you if you don't go through that experience. And the fact that Stephanie, in her position now, being retired and running the magazine and the publications, she takes time out of her day to sit down on our podcast and just be able to talk. We appreciate you. We appreciate your service. And thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with before we sign off, Steph?
Just the fact that I have never heard the word retired so much come out of one person's mouth. And you literally just thanked me for my service.
I
So,
did.
yeah, tonight might be I'm gonna go get a prescription now, apparently, because see that or drown tonight in whiskey. No, listen, think I have chest pain. No, thank you so much for having me on here and just having a good, fun conversation about why the fire service is so much fun. So
It's
thank you.
so, it is so awesome. Again, thank you for your positivity, your energy, and
It's because
for
I'm
your
getting sleep every night.
yeah, I mean, exactly. Because you're right. You get to sleep every night. So good for you. We all hope to be where you're at one day, old and retired. Just kidding. Uh, much love. Again, thank you for everything that you're doing and you're continuously doing. Anybody that wants to reach out to you, please, if there's any sort of means, leave the audience with that and we'll sign off from there, Steph.
You can find me on Facebook under my name. Under Instagram, it's 5 After Midnight Podcast or X Paperwork Firefighter.
I
It
love
used to
it.
be the
I
it used
love
to be the Paperwork Firefighter, but once I retired, I did the right thing and put the X in there.
I didn't even catch the X because I always laughed at the paperwork firefighter. So that was in the five calls after midnight, the 5 after midnight. That's everybody understands that. So that's freaking classic. So anyway, thank you again. Appreciate you. Everyone that made it this far, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks
Remember,
for hanging in there. Thanks for following along that journey. We had
tell
fun. We hope you
I
had fun too.
I had a blast. So that's all that really matters, as long as we had fun. Remember,
Mm.
tell your brother and your sister that you love them next time you see them, because God forbid you don't know the next time. And remember, if we leave our ego out of the fire service, there's no end to what we could accomplish. So thank you again, Stephanie. You're the man. Appreciate you. Right.
Thanks,
So
Steve.
yeah, thank you for taking your time, and we'll catch you guys in another 2 weeks. Take it easy.